Well, it looked like a long shot when Rafa was leading 3-1 in the fifth, but Roger Federer erased that deficit and sprinted to the finish line for his fifth Aussie Open title in 2017, beating 4 top tens along the way and surviving 3 5-setters. And with that memory, we say hello for the first time today to Hall of Famer and our Tennis Channel colleague, Andy Roddick. Hey, Andy, what's the latest? How you guys hanging in there in the Roddick-Decker household?
We are all good. Haber, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you for asking. I wanted to ask you about that final in Australia because of all the people in the world who might be surprised by something that Roger Federer would do. You would be pretty low on that list. But how impressed, nonetheless, were you by him after the 6-month break, coming back and surviving all those 5-setters and getting through that murderer's row?
Yeah, I'd say a commonality amongst a club player, a college player, a touring professional, the best players in the world. They all need reps. You need to get match tough. You need to actually play the game under match circumstances to be at your best, except for Roger Federer, apparently. When you don't play a single tournament point from Wimbledon of 16 to the Australian Open 2017, you wouldn't put him as a favorite to win a tournament. But I guarantee you when he got there and saw that the courts that year were playing a little bit slick, he might be able to get away with some cheap points, play a little bit more aggressively. He had to feel a little bit better, but to go through 4 top 10 players, back-to-back 5-setters and semis and finals, I mean, what else do you say? It was shocking. I was actually down there for, I think, about 36 hours that year, and it was funny because the topic was, oh gosh, if we could just get Roger versus Rafa one last time, and here we are, 2 or 3 years later, and we still got him, so we should be thankful for that.
Andy, one of the challenging things I've always found with great players is that with all players, but when you have a little bit of doubt, it's tough to believe in big moments. And Rafa has created doubt in Roger's mind. And right before the match, about 2 hours before, I asked Severin and Roger at lunch, I said, so what am I going to see today? And Roger said, I'm going to swing free. I'm going to step on the baseline and hit my backhand early. And I said, the whole time? He said, yeah, the whole time. And then all of a sudden at 3-1 in the fifth, he actually stayed with that even when down. How do you get that belief and how do you sustain it?
Well, I mean, you know the patient better than I do here. You've been in the locker rooms with Roger in those kind of intimate moments, but I have kind of a weird theory about the way that the Federer-Nadal rivalry has shifted maybe post-prime of Roger. He used to have options, and he used to actually play Roger actually used to play a lot of defense. People don't necessarily realize that, but he would kind of check back, put the ball in play, pick and choose his spots. Since he's maybe lost a step, he doesn't play defense nearly as much. Therefore, his backhand has gotten better. Therefore, the shot pattern where Rafa's consistently just peppering the backhand, I call it the get out of jail free card. Roger can hit 2 or 3 good balls, and Rafa kind of just flips that one up, and Roger would get caught up here. That shot's gotten better by virtue of Roger not actually playing defense as often. So I think that rivalry has actually shifted a little bit, but. It is. No one's immune. I mean, we've seen the great Serena Williams struggle in slam finals. So no matter how many times you've done it, the greatest thing about sports is you still have to prove it the next time. And somehow Roger did in that final at 17 at the Aussie Open.
Well, Andy, you mentioned back in 2017 you were in Australia. I believe that was your first time back at the Australian Open in 5 years. And in some of your press around the site, oh, there you are, going on court for the Hall of Fame. You talked about the historical implications that this final could have. At the time, it was 17-14 Federer before the final, obviously after 18-14. How huge was this match?
It was huge, and all of them are now. At that moment, it was like I was saying that could be the deal breaker, and that was before even Novak got into it. And then last summer at Wimbledon might have been the deal breaker with the all-time lead. So all of these matches that the big three are playing have ramifications past just that given match, and now past just that given tournament. We've had players who have been playing the history books, but not all simultaneously against each other. So we've had a spoiled of riches for a long time. And oh, by the way, a lady named Serena Williams is fighting the same battle on the women's side. So I'd say we've been pretty lucky as tennis fans.
Yeah, also that year, Serena on the women's side goes on to win the title, gets to 23. and announces she was pregnant a few months later. I mean, how crazy is that she is still able to win a Grand Slam with all of that going through her mind?
I mean, you would know. I've never been pregnant, so you tell me how hard that is. It's kind of amazing that Serena just does things with this certain, dominance. It's like, okay, I win the Australian Open, and then it's like an aside 2 weeks later, oh, by the way, and I was pregnant. So all of you just sit on that for a little while. I'm going to go away for a little bit, but I'll be back.
It's always amazing when we see what the great ones can do. And for Serena, it's been a little bit of a challenge. Has her challenge in your mind been mostly mental or physical lately?
I think there's two things. I think there's such thing as wanting something too badly. And when she goes away, obviously has Olympia, comes back, you have to retrain everything. Even someone as great as Serena Williams still has to prove themselves every single time. And that, I said it earlier when we were talking about Roger, but the same goes. And so you lose that first one convincingly, you lose the second one, then you're actually having to answer questions about it all the time. She doesn't get through an interview or a conversation now without someone bringing it up. So yeah, it gets kind of tucked back in your mind a little bit. But the one thing that I've seen post comeback with Serena was she used to be able to depend on her serve to get her out of jams a lot. And in those finals, I without even looking at the statistics, so maybe I'm dead off, but it's just an eyeball judgment here. Her first serve percentage, she's been missing them in bunches, right? If she misses 2 or 3 first serves in a row, someone else is getting rhythm and she's having to play more rallies than she would normally want to. So I would like to see that first serve percentage go up a little bit. That's almost medicine for being a little bit tight if that first serve percentage comes up a bit.
Andy, I've been watching this interview, and I have to tell you, I want to drink at your bar right now. Can you just get out of the way and let me see what's going on back behind you? That's outstanding. But I have that looks amazing. All right, you can come back in frame. I want to ask you a legit tennis question. How is it? We understand, Nadal's won 12 majors on clay. And that's why Roger has only won 1, and Djokovic, in large part, has only won 1. But how is it that Rafa has won 5 hardcourt majors, but only one of them has come in Australia? 4 times he's won the U.S. Open. Why could it possibly are Djokovic and Federer just that much better on hardcourts than Nadal is in Australia?
I mean, how do you define Rafa winning that match against Medvedev in the 5th set and losing a 3-1 lead against Roger? Sometimes it's just the way it. One of the things that I've noticed about Rafa at the U.S. Open is he gets some more free points on a serve when it's been traditionally a little bit quicker. And then post-roof, when Arthur Ashe has become a bit of a sweatbox, Rafa can bring people into the gutter a little bit more. I actually think it's more advantageous. Even when Australia is insanely hot, it's still pretty dry. The ball bounces up and away a little bit. It plays a little bit quicker sometimes. But I do think one of the bigger outliers is, I think you're spot on, Mary, is Rafa only winning, right? Who the hell am I to say that? But only winning the Australian one time. You would figure everything should kind of match up for him to have won more there. But, those guys, Federer and Djokovic are pretty good too.
All right, we're going to take a little
We'll
pause.
Talk more about this at your bar.
Yeah, so let's just pause here because we're going to get A, Mary a cocktail. B, we're going to find out if that bottle over Andy's left shoulder is whiskey or wine. And C, which is it, by the way, Andy?
Yes.
Yes. Excellent answer. And we're going to have some real Ask Andy questions, taking a break at the Do Drop In here on Tennis Channel.